I didn't get muted. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeland Rotary Club. My name is Joel Ivy. So glad you could all join us this afternoon. I guess it is this afternoon already. Got a great program for you today. Our online greeting services were provided by none other than Lori Martini. She's the VP and Chief Philanthropic Officer for GiveWell Community Foundation. She's a past president, a Paul Harris Fellow, and a 20-year Rotarian. At this time, I would like to invite Stacy Campbell Dominic. Is she online? Anybody?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So Stacy, thank you. Stacy's the CEO of Career Source Polk. She's on the board of directors. She is a Paul Harris Fellow, and she's a 3-year Rotarian. Stacy, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Absolutely. If you would bow your heads. Most gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. We thank you for sunshine. We thank you for light. We thank you for freedom. And we thank you for protection. Continue to lead us in a way that you would guide us, in the way you would have us to go. Make sure that you order our steps in your word. Continue to protect us and give us a heart of empathy for those who are in need. Thank you for all you've done in our lives. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Will it what is it? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to
all concerned? Okay, so that's more like the 3-way test. Thank you, Stacy. At this time, we'd like to do the introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians. Amanda, if we can start online, please.
Okay, I will invite anybody online to unmute themselves and introduce guests, although I am not seeing anybody jump out at me, except for, of course, our intrepid visiting Rotarian, Doug McCall.
All right.
Hi.
Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Jack. I have yes. Hi, y'all. My guest today is Cody Cheek. Cody has been in Lakeland since 2008, the same year I moved here. He's an assistant vice president for business banking at Mid-Florida Credit Union.
Thank you, Jack. I have Andrew Troller with me today with Good Intense Marketing.
Start Happy Dollars with local.
All right, Happy Dollars. Who's happy?
I'm happy because the president of the Lakeland branch NAACP, the Lieutenant Colonel Terry Coney, is going to be our speaker, and I'm a proud member of that program. Thank you.
I am happy because my mother is finally here after all the construction and all the waiting. It's done. She's here. We're still walking over boxes and moving furniture, but the hard part is done.
I am happy because I'm no longer homeless. Allow me to explain. The foundation pad in my house was soaked, and thanks to Sean McDonough, I got my house inspected and they moved me the heck out. I lived in a hotel for 2 months and Sean rebuilt it was his, well, you helped. So now I'm back in the house thanks to Sean and McDonough Construction. They rebuilt everything better than it was before, and it's great to be home.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Amanda, do we have any happy dollars online? If so, whoever wants to speak up, just unmute yourself and start talking.
Going once, going twice. Okay, nobody's happy online.
Nobody's happy. A bunch of unhappy people online. Okay, so now it's time for some announcements. I'd like to welcome our own district governor, Mark Skolnick, DG Mark, up here he wants to give away some prizes or something, right?
Something like that, yes. I want to thank the members of this club that have helped the district this year. And not all of them are here, but I want to announce them all. Mike Loudon, is chaplain. Larry Becker, and please come up if you're here so we could take a picture. Larry has done the video every month with Sarah and just did a fabulous job. We keep him up all night, I think, doing that. Sarah Breed did the speech contest, did as great a job as anybody could under the circumstances. Linda Jazad has helped us. Linda, tell Linda I called your name. Has helped with the web. What's that? Can't hear me? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, this is for Zoom and that. Okay, thank you. Linda's helped with the website, and Glenn Allen, who's not here, has helped us with the district conference. So I want to thank them all. I have a little token of a gift. They are my Rotary heroes. It takes about 100 people to run this district. So the year before you become district governor, you spend that whole year running around trying to find people to help you. And fortunately, this club and its members have stepped up to the plate and really given the district a big boost. And I want to thank them and hope everybody else will thank them.
Real quick. Long year for all of us, DG Mark. You've done a great job. Thank you for your dedication to the district, to Rotary. You got their pictures. So just a reminder, our annual dinner is June 22nd. There's already a link on the website that you can go to and pay. It is $50 a person. And so we want to get this paid for you. And if you're bringing your spouse, just go ahead and pay for both of them at the same time, or whoever it is that you want to bring. You're welcome to bring a guest to that. Again, this is going to be at Lone Palm. It's going to start on the evening of June 22nd. There will not be a noon meeting that day. We're just going to have the annual dinner that night. It starts at 6 with the social hour, and then at 7, we will start the dinner. We'll try to get everybody out of there as promptly as we possibly can. We have a lot of Paul Harris Fellow Awards to give away because we weren't able to do it last year, so we're kind of doubling up. So that's a good thing. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. Special shout out to Todd Christian. Todd, thank you for setting that up and getting that all pieced together. Great job, my friend. Thank you. All right, so here's the deal about in-person meetings. We were told that we could start meeting in person again on the 22nd. Guess what happens on the 22nd? We're having our dinner. We're not having a lunch meeting. On the 29th, it would be normally my last meeting, but I'm going to be in the great country of Texas. You say how this, Sean? I'm going to be in the great country of Texas during that week to go visit my grandkids and my parents, and that's non-negotiable at this point. So we're going to do Zoom for the last meeting also, and then we're going to pick up the second week in July because we're going to take the first week off, give everybody a break from Nate, the tyranny that's going to be Nate. And so look forward to being back at the church at the second week meeting in July. We're not going to meet in person on the 29th. Well, would we meet here? Okay, scratch that. We're going to meet at the church. Carol's running the meeting. Okay, all right, never mind. Everything I just said, forget about it. Forget about it. Yeah, forget it. I'm not going to be here anyway. Irma, would you like to talk about Rotary Cares a Ton? Wait.
Hey, everybody. So one more time, Rotary Cares a ton. Final numbers for the district, 149,084 pounds, which comes out to 74.5 tons. So we far exceeded the goal of 50 tons. The winner, the club that won was Fishhawk Riverview. And our club came in 10th place. So that's pretty good. So good for all of you. I also just wanted to, do you mind if I do one more? Oh, I got the microphone. We got a really nice thank you email from the president of the Boys and Girls Clubs. And I just wanted to share it with you because it's really for the club, not just for the people who worked over there on the STARS project. Your kindness and hard work made a huge difference at our Showy Club, which means the world to kids. Not just because you gave your time, energy, and skill to a remote club in an underserved community to make it better, but because by doing so, you sent a message to our kids that people, successful, busy people, who could be somewhere else on a Saturday, actually 2 Saturdays, chose to invest in them instead. And as kids, when we see that someone cares, we believe more in ourselves, and then, and only then, can we contemplate a better future. So thank you and the Lakeland Rotary Club for giving so generously of your time in order to create a great future. And they sent this great picture of kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Irma. Great job by the Rotary Stars class too. You guys did an awesome job out there. We appreciate it. Okay, so where are we meeting on June 29th? Say it together. All right, we're meeting at the church on June 29th. I don't want anybody to be left out. So it's going to be good to get back together in person, and this should be our new permanent venue every week. Okay, and our host is going to be past President Carol. Thank you, Carol. So where am I going to be? Thank you. All right. I'm glad to know somebody's actually listening. All right. So at this point, we're getting ready to start our program, and our introduction is be done by our own former mayor, Howard Wiggs. Always will be a mayor, I suppose. Partner with Bagley Wiggs CoLab. He's a Paul Harris Fellow. He's approximately 35-year Rotarian. Mayor, would you please?
Thank you.
Take both of them.
Both of them. Well, Linda was supposed to introduce Terry. She had a conflict, so it was to my good fortune I had that opportunity to do this. So, when I was mayor, I often talked about that we did not want our number one export to be our young folks. Well, that is true for any quality folks, regardless of age, and certainly true for Lieutenant Colonel Terry Coney, who served our country for 22 years in the Air Force and recently returned to Lakeland. Linda and I, along with Colonel Gary Clark and Cynthia Haffey, enjoyed hearing Lieutenant Colonel Coney's insightful and informative speech at the Memorial Day ceremony recognizing the Buffalo Soldiers. Terry graduated from Rochelle Junior-Senior High School in 1968, and now he serves on the advisory council for the Rochelle School of Arts. He earned his bachelor's degree in economics from Florida A&M University and his master's of aeronautical science from Embry-Riddle. Lieutenant Colonel Coney had numerous areas of expertise while in the Air Force: aviation, security, law enforcement. He served as part of a B-52 bomber air crew. He was a navigator, a bombardier, an instructor, and an evaluator. And he was chief of security police. After his Air Force retirement in 1994, he expanded his reach with areas as varied as nuclear security officer, travel agent, life and health insurance agent, and circulation manager for the Durham Herald Sun newspaper in North Carolina. He has been involved in community service wherever he goes. He was a mentor to teenage boys in the Rites of Passage program in Durham, as well as a past member of the North Carolina State Advisory Board for Mathematics and Science Education. We're glad that Terry Coney chose to come home to his family and come home to Lakeland, where he continues to contribute as a member of the Platform Art Board of Directors, a member of the search committee for our new school superintendent, and he is a leader in his church. And very importantly, he is president of the Lakeland chapter of the NAACP. Outstanding. His topic today is I Am a Product of Lakeland. Terry, we're glad your grandson came, and if you don't mind, I'm going to let you introduce him when you come up here. But we're delighted that he's here. So let's join with me and let's give a warm Lakeland Rotary Club welcome to Lieutenant Colonel Terry G. Coney.
Thank you, Mayor Wiggs. And I'll see if I can get all the technical stuff set up. This is the mic for Zoom and the mic for the room. So, and I was told I have about 20 minutes to do this, even though I brought all this to talk about. So I'll talk fast. Maybe I can get through most of it. Oh, 30 minutes now. Okay. But I'll set a timer anyway, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm sure nobody will be upset if I finish early. And I know several people here and have had the experience of working on some things and discussions. From Don Savage, we go back a little bit from when he was originally on the city commission, and he read an article I wrote, and he just got off the city commission, so I started to refer to Don as the city's utility man, because he's always on deck and he just kind of steps up when he's called. And Larry Rankin, we've known each other for a little while through the NAACP. And I have my grandson here, Daryl Ash Jr., and he's, what's today? Today is the 8th. So in a couple of days, his son will be 6 months old. So there's Daryl Ash III, which we call Trey. And his wife, his fiance works in the school system, so she did her last day Thursday. So, but my wife and I had the opportunity to babysit Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of each week. So we're going to kind of miss that. But when I was asked last week by Linda Wiggs what I consider speaking to the organization, I said, "Wow, I wonder what can I say, or why was I asked?" And Mayor Wiggs mentioned the Memorial Day service we had, and I thought it turned out real well. And even though we had it at the Buffalo Soldier marker on Lake Wire, it was a spot. But Memorial Day is always a day to recognize those that have fallen serving their country. So I couldn't remember whether anything like that had ever happened at that marker. So I just thought it was a good place. We had a great turnout. It was a great day, one of those days in Lakeland I call another great day in paradise. So it was a good day. So I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you guys. And as my topic goes, I'm a product of Lakeland. And I see a few people in here that have a little gray hair, and maybe not all the hair they used to have. So you may be a little older or you're a little younger than me, but I'm a kid of the 50s and the 60s. So, and as I was thinking about doing this presentation over the last few days, I kind of thought about my life. And I did the first 21 years here, between Lakeland and then 4 years up in Tallahassee. 2 weeks before I graduated, 2 weeks after I graduated, I got a draft notice because the Vietnam War conflict was going on. And how many of you guys remember lottery numbers and those kind of things? My number was 68. So when I would go for job interviews, and when people would come in, when they'd come in with the job fairs and this kind of thing, the first thing they'd ask you then was, "What's your lottery number?" And I tell them, "See, well, if you don't get drafted, give us a call." So as it turned out, I got drafted. Spent 22 years in the Air Force. As I tell most people, they kept making me offers I couldn't refuse, and I wasn't getting any better offers, so I just stayed. But to go back a little bit, if you were born in the early 50s, you saw a lot of history take place in this country. And some of it may have not have been some of the United States' proudest moments, but we got through it. You know, everything from in 1954, you had Brown versus Board of Education passed. And what was that about? That was providing not only the right for kids to go to school together, but it provided equal access to all accommodations. And it basically took down Percy versus Ferguson, which the Supreme Court passed in 1896, which actually legalized separate legal. And through the NAACP and its Legal Defense Fund and Thurgood Marshall and a gentleman named Charles Hamilton Houston, they set their strategy going from that point forward to show that separate but equal wasn't equal. So, and there were many steps along the way. And, you know, it started from getting equal pay for teachers in Baltimore, Maryland. And they went on from there to getting access for African Americans first to go to the University of Maryland Law School. So until you finally got up to 1954. But we also saw the space age get started. We called it the space race. The Russians beat us in space with Sputnik. And I can remember when I was in fourth grade, my fourth grade teacher had this little box TV about that size with rabbit ears on it. And we actually saw Alan Shepard take off. And, that was a great moment. And then you had the integration really start taking place. And another moment, and I hear people talking about sometimes, well, I don't want government interfering in my life. Government's too big. Well, for some of us, if it wouldn't have been for big government or the federal government, I may still be riding in the back of the bus. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys. But President Eisenhower had to escort some kids going to school at Little Rock Central High School. From there, you had President Johnson getting James Meredith at the University of Mississippi. And all that's a part of our history. It all pulls us together. It's all the thread that makes America, America. And some of it may be uncomfortable to talk about, but it's still part of who we are. And we move forward from that. And in my Air Force career, I never got to go to Europe. I spent a lot of time in the Pacific, from Hawaii to Guam to South Korea to Okinawa, Australia. But think about the European countries. We look at the when they were having the Crusades back in 1200s and that time period. If you look at 1796 or 1609, we're still a country not even 300 years old yet. So we're still growing, we're still building, we're really in our infancy stage. But so back to Terry Coney. Growing up in Lakeland, going to Rochelle Elementary School to Rochelle High School, and I had to speak for one of my classmates that passed, right as we were celebrating our 50th class reunion a few years ago. And where Coney Funeral Home is on the corner of 10th and MLK, which used to be Dakota Avenue, which will always be Dakota Avenue for me. But my classmate that passed, she lived on Whitehurst, and she was right on the corner of Whitehurst and Dakota. And we used to tease her all the time that she could hear the bell ring, and all she had to know, when we were in high school, she just had to run across the street. But she was late all the time. And then when we were in elementary school, she just had to walk 2 blocks down. But what I tell kids when I talk to them now, I mean, and there are people, younger people in their 40s that have no idea that Rochelle School of the Arts used to be a high school. But we did it all right there in that 2 to 3 block area. 1st through 6th grade on the west side of MLK of Dakota. Then we crossed the street on the east side and did 7th through 12th grade. Think about that now. I think if kids go to probably only school I can think of that you probably have that experience is maybe Lakeland Christian School. They start out at K and go straight through the 12th. I was at a city commission meeting yesterday where some of the residents were complaining about the traffic and that kind of thing. But I guess they'll figure it out. And the teachers I had, they either taught my parents, went to school with my parents, or we went to church together, or they lived in the neighborhood. So I couldn't get away from them. You couldn't get away with anything. But you know, if you think about the term, it takes a village, and that's what we had. And even through that segregation period or that evolution moving forward, Lakeland was kind of unique because I remember as a little kid being downtown in Munn Park and seeing the colored and white water fountains and that kind of thing. And then I remember seeing on television some of the things that the African Americans were going through in Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi. And I don't recall us going to all that. There were demonstrations, but for whatever reason, whether the merchants of the city decided at some point in time we need to go ahead and move past this, there wasn't a whole lot of beating and rioting and just terrible stuff like that of buildings being blown up. One of the most traumatic experience I remember having was a Sunday morning when I woke up and it was an NBC special came on, and they talked about this church that had been blown up in Birmingham, Alabama, and these 5 little girls got killed. Now, for all the talk about God and religion and the sanctity of the church, why would someone blow up a church? Think about that. Now that's not the only time a church has been blown up. When I was living in North Carolina in the early 2000s, they had some African American churches that were burnt down. But again, that's another part of our history that some people may feel uncomfortable talking about. There's a lady that lives in Haines City now. Her name is Belinda Williams, and Florida Poly they did the documentary on these young ladies they were called the Stolen Girls. They lived in Americus, Georgia, and they were demonstrating outside this theater to get the theater integrated. And they were picked up, taken about 30 miles away from their homes, and put in this old Army stockade. Their parents had no idea where they were until a reporter was snooping around, and he finally figured out where they were, and he told their parents. Well, if you're a parent in here, it doesn't matter whether you're a father or mother. Just think about your daughter just kind of disappearing like that. I noticed as I did some research on the Rotary Club, it talks about service before self and humanitarianism. What kind of humanitarianism is there in just stealing young girls. I mean, I think they ranged in the age from about 12 to 15. So they're still growing, still developing. I mean, and they when I say they literally had the basics, they really didn't have the basics. I think they may have had one old sink and a toilet in there. So, but again, that's part of our history, and I've taken some time over the years. Some of it goes back to when I was in high school, and I ran track, and my track coach, who was also our guidance counselor, I'd done pretty good my junior year in high school, made it to the state. I think I came in fourth place at the state track meeting, the event I ran. So to motivate me, he gave me a book written by a gentleman named Jim Ryan. And at the time, he was world record holder in the mile run. He ran 3:51.1. And what I got out of that book is, and I tell a lot of people, kids especially, whatever you do or whoever you think has been successful in their life, you don't just go from here up to here. You know, there are all these steps in between that you have to climb, and you got to work on it. As I used to tell my son all the time, you know, you got to do the work. You know, he'd say, well, why you keep telling me the same dumb stuff over and over? Because you keep doing the same dumb things over and over. But at some point, I'm not going to tell you anymore. You may ask me, well, what about this, about that? I said, well, if it was me, I'd probably do this. But you got to make that decision. So as a parent, you grow. I always felt like you got to know your kid better than they know themselves, because wherever they're trying to get to, you already been. Now, times may have changed a little bit. You got a little more technology and all that, but life is life. And you have to challenge your kids. You have to be demanding with your kids. You know, I heard, I forget the gentleman's name. He was a coach of University of South Carolina men's basketball team. And he made a statement that, you know, kids hadn't changed. Adults have just gotten lazy. So, you know, the things you do in parenting are the things that have been done in parenting. You know, you pass those down. You know, I have Daryl sitting over there, and we've had different segments. You know, when was it? When he turned, I think it was 27. I said, you got 3 more years now before you turn 30. You know, you got to start getting them together. Now, he's always been a young man that has a gift for gab, but in the aviation business, you would say, you know, he was all mark and no direction. So he was just all over the place. But he's got it together. He's a happy, proud father. We're proud of him. So you know, sometimes, you know, you just have to give kids their time, and sometimes you tell them that there's some things in life, if you don't get it right the first time, you don't get another chance. And you know, I'll tell one of his stories. You know, he graduated from Lake Gibson High School. He was a pretty good athlete, track, football, and he got a football scholarship to go play football at Presbyterian College. And he started as a freshman, but he said he got homesick. His mama missed him, and his mother went to University of South Florida, and she always thought that that's where he should be. I said, and I said, don't let him come home. Well, they gave in, and he thought he had an offer from the coach at University of South Florida to come play football there. But as happens in especially college athletics, guess what? That coach got fired, and they brought in a new coach. So when you say some things in life, you only got one shot to get right, he never played competitive football again. Now, it wasn't the end of his world, but you know, he loved football. So, you know, you watch the decisions you make. I wasn't a great student in college. I got better as I progressed, and the first quarter of my senior year, I got my grades. My mother got my grades. I'd been out, and It was a high 3 point something, and that my senior year I moved off campus. And when she got those grades, oh my God, I should have let you move off campus a long time ago. but you live, you learn. So that first fifth of my life, from 0 to 21, I was in Lakeland, and like I said, I had teachers and coaches, had personalities that filled up the room. Got through college, went in the Air Force, and the things you learn as you move forward in life, the more you accomplish, the more you complete, the more confident you are in the things that you do. So when I got drafted, I had two uncles that had just retired from the Air Force. Said, "Well, check out the Air Force," because when you get drafted, for you all that knew, 30 days after you got drafted, if you didn't have another branch of the military you're going in the Army. And you did basic training, and probably 75 to 80% of those guys, and within 6 weeks to 3 months, they were there humping through the jungle in Vietnam. So, not that I was afraid of that, but I just thought maybe it was something a little better. And as a kid, being naive, I thought everybody that went in the Air Force flew airplanes. So, so when I took the test, and I remember the recruiter, he said, "Wow, you did pretty good." I said, "Okay." He said, "The only problem was in your physical, you couldn't get in pilot training because you have to have 20/20 vision." I've been wearing glasses since I was in 8th grade. And for most of the time through high school, I'd have them on when I left home, and then I'd stick them in my pocket and then didn't wear them anymore. So, but I thought I could see pretty well without them. And my mother would always yell at me. But so that finally caught up with me. He said, "Well, but don't worry about it. You can still fly. You can be a navigator." I asked him, "What do they do?" "They tell the pilot where to go." So, okay, I can do that. So, you tell them how fast to go, how high to fly, when to come down, when to turn, all that kind of stuff. But in navigator training, what you learn is that if when you're going through all your competitions, if you're even with the airplane, you're behind. You always got to stay ahead because you're moving at anywhere from 6 to 7 miles a minute there. So when you get to a point, you can't tell the pilot when you got to turn. You can't tell them, "Well, wait a minute, I'm still figuring it out." You got to turn. And on the bomber B-52 missions, everything was simulated war. You take off and you go. Gary Clark flew refueling airplanes, 135s, and we'll take off. We'll do a rendezvous with them. We get gas, and you may simulate celestial navigation leg, or you may do a high-level bomb run. Then you go down, and everything was on time. Like we had to meet our tanker plus or minus 5 minutes. So we're going low level. We had to hit that entry point plus or minus 2.5 minutes, and then time over target. It eventually came down to plus or minus 2 minutes. So you couldn't mess around. You had to know what you were doing. So I got through that, and the Air Force played tricks on me north south. I'm a kid from Florida. I finished school, my initial flight training in Sacramento, California in December. I get to come home for a week, and then I go to survival training up in Spokane, Washington. Airplane coming in to land. The pilot said, "Welcome to beautiful downtown Spokane. Temperature outside is 5 degrees above zero." And it's the first, and we're in the first class after the Christmas break, and it's been snowing. And make a long story short, you go through all that, and you go through a interrogation phase of what I call the Hogan's Heroes Camp, and then they send you out in the field. And every class like that you go through, it's always somebody that just knows it all in academics. Well, I got paired up with that guy, and when we got in the field, we had on snowshoes, snow up to our knees, and we made no checkpoints on time because this guy couldn't keep up. So, in fact, we were going down one hill, and his snowshoe got hung on a tree, and I'm already at the bottom, so I got to work my way all the way back up to get him, and you got a 60-pound pack on your back, and they said, "Well, if you lose anything, you got to pay for it." So I think one of my flashlights fell off. I said, "Well, I'll pay for that. I'm not going back." And finally, we finally got through that, and I got back, and my girlfriend said at the time, said, "What they do to you? They look like you look like you just been beat to death." But that was California. Then I went to North Carolina, eastern part of North Carolina, about 50 miles east of Raleigh, a little place called Goldsboro. And this was September 1974. And if you came in from Raleigh, coming from the west going east and right on the county border, they had this big sign up there said, "This is Klan country." And they had a horse on a Klansman on a horse and a sheet and everything. If you came in from another direction, you had a big billboard that says, "Support United Klansmen of America, help fight communism and aggression." I thought I'd gone back in time. Said, wow. So the other great experience, I was kind of out in the country, hanging out with this young lady sitting on her grandfather's porch, and said, "Wow, that's some huge collard green leaves there." And he said, "Boy, that's no collard green, that's tobacco." So that was my first time, seeing tobacco growing out like that. So I left North Carolina, went to northern Michigan. And when I say northern Michigan, who's ever heard of the Upper Peninsula or the UP? So the one thing I can say about the UP, they get a lot of snow. Probably averaged 150 inches a year. And by that time, I was married. I had a young daughter, which I think when we got up there, she was in 3rd grade. And she really got the full experience because she went from North Carolina to northern Michigan to California, Central Valley, California. And then she finished high school in North Dakota. So left Michigan, went to California. We're at a base between Modesto and Fresno and raisin country. And, I progressed from flight line instructor to academic instructor. When I finally left there, I was the chief of the standardization evaluation of the navigation and bombing section. So then I made a change in careers and went to security. So then they sent me to Grand Forks, North Dakota. North Dakota doesn't get as much snow as northern Michigan, but it gets a lot colder. Yeah. North Dakota is the only place where I had to bring a car back from California, and it was a little sports car 280Z. And we came across from Montana into North Dakota, got to Fargo and turned north. And Grand Forks is about 100 miles north of Fargo. And as we were driving north, the temperature gauge on the car was moving. I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and I've seen a lot of the country at 70 miles an hour from 35,000 feet. But the temperature gauge is going to the cold side. And finally got there, and that car wouldn't start for the next 2 days. I had to get it towed to the garage to get a engine block heater put on it. And literally had to plug that in to keep the oil from coagulating together there. So another experience. But North Dakota is a state that doesn't have 1 million people. But if it was a country, it would be the 4th or 5th largest nuclear power in the world because it has 2 Air Force bases there. Both have Minuteman III missiles. When I was at Grand Forks, we had B-1B bombers at Minot, which is about 200 miles west, at B-52s at the time. And our missile complex was probably the size of the state of New Jersey. We had missiles within 4 miles of the Canadian border. And unofficially, somebody told me once we had an international incident because one of our convoys in a snowstorm went across into Canada. So, but we had 3 squadrons there. I eventually, when I got promoted to lieutenant colonel, I was the deputy chief of security there. We had over 1,100 people that were in that group. And then I left there in 1991, just as Desert Storm was ending, and went to Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. And probably the biggest thing that gets my attention most about Guam is that about a week after I got there, in the Philippines, there was a mountain, Mount Pinatubo, and Clark Air Base was right at the base of that mountain, and that mountain, that volcano hadn't erupted in probably 400 or 500 years, and they got a little rumbling, and they moved all the Air Force personnel down to Subic Bay, the Navy base, and most of those people thought they were going back home. They never did because the volcano erupted, and I saw pictures of like the surface of the moon, just all the gray ash. And that was my first time in dealing with an emergency like that. We had in about a week, we had over 20,000 DOD active duty and dependents that came through our base. And we had originally, and all they had was just bags and clothes on their back. So we went from one hangar of processing them in, getting them money, getting them temporary places to stay, and then set up another holding hangar, then finally a departure hangar. And some were going to Japan, some went to Hawaii, and eventually made it back to the States. And the next traumatic thing is we hear about our police officers getting killed in the line of duty. And the toughest thing I've ever had to do was call a parent and tell them that their daughter got injured, critically injured in the line of duty, and that they needed to come immediately if they wanted to see her alive. And when I was told I had to make that call, you sit, you stare at the phone, and okay, how am I going to do this? And eventually, you just have to pick up the phone and you say the words. And I had a team that was in a competition exercise in Hawaii, and I was supposed to go over, and I was debating whether I should go or wait till they come. So I decided to go, and as it turned out, they were from Oregon, and they made it to San Francisco and to Hawaii, but their flight to get to Guam was full. So I was there, I was in uniform, I talked to the steward, I said, you need to get these people on because their daughter is critically injured. And they went and they asked the other people on the plane, would somebody be willing to give up their seat? And 2 people did, they got on. And as it turned out, they made it to Guam, and they got to see their daughter before she passed. But, that just kind of pulls at your heart there, as a father. But I see my time is getting away from me. I got out of the Air Force in 1994, came back, moved to Durham, North Carolina. So this third phase of my life, I was 43 when I got out of the Air Force. 19 years in Durham, did everything from financial services to running a travel agent to being running a distribution center for a newspaper, and even worked at a nuclear power plant doing security there. Carried AR-15 and 9mm. But I've never been one much on guns. I've shot everything that the Air Force had, but I've never been one much on guns. But coming back home, I kind of looked around for a while. My mom passed a month and a half after I got back. And I had a friend named Harold Silas, which Don Savage knows. And he had told me he was vice president of the NAACP at the time. And he told me that he was running for president and asked me would I support him. I said, sure. He said, well, to support me, you got to join. And I'd had a membership in North Carolina. I let it lapse. But the election was supposed to be in November. And I got a call in August of 2014 that he had passed. He and his wife were coming back from Louisiana, and around Pensacola, he had a heart attack. They got him in the heart, and he didn't survive. So the next meeting in September, I went, I made him that promise. So I joined. So over the last 7 years, I've been on the executive committee. And then last year I was asked, would I be president? And I said, well, no, somebody else can do that. And I was asked several times, and my son finally convinced me and said, you always told me if somebody thought that you were good at doing something, you probably should accept that challenge. So I did. And been into it now for what, 4-5 months. I think we've gotten several things accomplished. Looking forward to doing some bigger and better things. Most important things that I'm trying to do now, get out, meet people just like this organization. I feel like it's important to build relationships. Just like I saw in your mission statement, building alliances. And I think that's what's needed. So education system, we're working on getting parents educated for education awareness, community revitalization, and economic development. And all those things come together that builds and makes for a stronger community. So one person can't do that by themselves. It takes everybody, whether you think of Lakeland as a big city, small village, but it still takes everybody to come together to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at now with my life and Lakeland and what I'm currently doing, on top of a few other things. When I close our meetings, normally I thank everybody for participating, because they don't pay you enough to do what we do, and actually we get nothing. So it's all out of the goodness of your heart. So I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks a bunch. Oh, sure.
Great story, huh? I want to ask through that mic, Amanda, is there any questions online?
No, there are none online. Just enjoyable program. Thank you for sharing and for your service to our country.
Thank you.
Okay. Get away, got a little parting gift. On behalf of the Lakeland Rotary Club, thank you so much for speaking with us. This little book is for your own memoirs and memories and anything else that you want to put in it. It is totally blank, so it's up to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so our visiting Rotarians. Oh, here we go. Doug McCall, good to see you back. Cody and Andrew, thank you all for joining us too. We appreciate having everybody here. Our weekly quote, oh, the places you'll go. Who's that from? Dr. Seuss. Okay, when is our next in-person meeting?
29.
June 29th. Okay, it's going to be at the church, and we're going to be there permanently from now on. So look forward to seeing everybody there. But the bad news is the next meeting is Zoom only. Zoom only for the next meeting, right? And then the last meeting, of course, is going to be in person. So absent any protest to the contrary, we're going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for joining us.